Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. Last week in a previous video I discussed the whole concept of the black girl next door and one of the reasons why I write a lot of novels featuring a black girl next door. Now, the concept of a black girl next door is designed to be a positive image of black women, which is designed to make black women and girls appear to be friendly, kind, approachable, and relatable to everyone. She is designed to be a friend to people in the stories and someone that the reader or the viewer can relate to and identify with as someone they want to be a best friend with, and someone that boys find attractive because of her internal character traits, someone they can relate to as someone they would want to see as their girlfriend and later on to be eventually become their wife. And the concept of the black girl next door was designed again to change the way we saw the image of the black woman, because in most media before the mid 1970s and 1980s, we often saw a stereotype perception of black women, and under that perception we often saw in most films we either got your asexualized mammy who was just there to comfort white characters, a black Jezebel who was just there to be a promiscuous sex object for black and white characters, or we got an emasculating sapphire who was there to degrade and devalue the black male characters on screen. And the whole concept of the black girl next door was designed to refute all of these stereotypes which presented the black woman as someone who was unattractive, unlovable, and undesirable. And the reason why we have a black girl next door in media is because of the efforts of a large group of black males in Hollywood and some black females in Hollywood, such as Suzanne DePass. And because these people had the money to create their own media, what they did was they created media that would fit their interpretation and their view of black people and create a narrative and an image of black womanhood that would be considered more positive and more appealing to large audiences. And because they were financing this media, they were able to create the image of the black female girl next door. Now, we look at the works of people like your Bill Cosby, your Quincy Jones with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Suzanne DePass with Sister Sister, Reginald and Warrington Hudlin with the House Party movies. We look at Robert Townsend and his works in film, and Keenan Ivory Wayans, and all of them were working together towards pushing the black girl next door concept in media. And because they were working towards pushing this concept in media, we got a positive image of black females in media from the mid-1980s to, I'd say, about the near end of the 1990s, because that was the era where we saw the black girl next door being presented as one of the strong main images in African American media. And a lot of people probably wondering what happened to the black girl next door. Why did she walk away from American media? And the reason why there is no more black girl next door in American media is this: the players on the table changed over time. And because the producers of black media started to change over time, what happened was there was a change in the narrative. And this change in narrative really started in the early and mid 1980s with people like Alice Walker, a black feminist, starting to come up, rising with The Color Purple. And she, working with white liberals, created that film, and black feminists like Oprah Winfrey were working towards pushing their narrative towards the black image of the black woman. And because these women had a more feminist view of black women, they were slowly working towards changing the narrative to fit their viewpoint and their reflection of black women. And under their viewpoint, their view was that your black woman wasn't a girl next door. Their viewpoint was that your black woman was a victim of the abuses of black men. Because we look at films like The Color Purple and Oprah Winfrey's produced films like 1987's The Women of Brewster Place, we see this narrative being pushed to the forefront. And then later on in the early 1990s, we had Terry McMillan, also another black feminist, rising with the novel Waiting to Exhale, continuing to reinforce and push this narrative regarding the image of the black woman. And slowly, this narrative started to become more popular. And then she got some support and started, again, producing the film version of Waiting to Exhale. And that, again, pushed the narrative and the viewpoint that the black woman was a victim of the abuses and mistreatment of the black man. And this was a narrative that, again, was pushed and financed by wealthy black women who had a feminist view of the black image. And because they wanted to push a feminist viewpoint of the black image, we started to see a complete walk away from this whole black girl next door concept of an appealing, attractive, friendly black woman who men wanted to date and marry, and an image of a black woman that girls would find attractive to being their friend, to this, again, victim of abuses who needed to be pitied and felt sorry for in most media. And the reason why, again, this was being made is because these females had the money to produce this type of material. Meanwhile, we had black males. They were not doing as well with this type of media at the box office as they did previously. And even on netlists like WB, this type of media was pretty much struggling. And this narrative of the victimized black female was becoming more and more popular again due to the rise of Terry McMillan's Waiting to Exhale. Now, in the 2000s, we started to see this change in trend completely from the black girl next door with shows like Girlfriends, which is again produced by Maya Baraka Kill. And we also saw it with Lee Daniels' Monsters Ball. And with Lee Daniels' Monster Ball, this was a complete turning point in the image of the African American woman in media. Because with Lee Daniels' Monsters Ball, this is what happened. It pretty much established as a mainstream concept of the black female as a victim in media, because his film pretty much earned Halle Berry an Oscar for playing the ultimate victim of abuses, Letitia Musgrove, who was pretty much shown in this film as some poor, put-upon, pathetic female who needed the help and savior of a white man. And this film, again, is a turning point in the image of the black female, because it not only shows the black female as a victim, but it shows her needing a white savior to take her out of her own dysfunctional situation. Because even in earlier black feminist films, you often saw the black woman, she didn't need a white savior. She was often trying to pull herself up. Now, if you look at other films, like Oprah Winfrey's The Wedding, again, this is where you see a seed of this when she makes this story about this black woman who was debating whether she should marry this white man. But Monsters Ball pretty much cements it in people's mind and creates the foundation for a turning point in the narrative, telling us all that in order for this black woman to be saved, she needs a white savior, even though there are welfare, there are colleges, and all sorts of opportunities that this female could take to pull herself up in the time that this man was in prison. Because the story, Monsters Ball, pretty much perpetuates the whole idea of the victimization of the black woman. And then we have others pushing a narrative such as your Tyler Perry, because your Tyler Perry also pushes the narrative that the black female is a poor, put-upon victim who is being abused by no good, dark-skinned black men, and that she needs a light-skinned black male to come and save her from the situations that she has fallen into, and needs to be rescued by this light-skinned man from this situation without any sort of objectivity. And in between your Lee Daniels and your Tyler Perry, the narrative for the black female in the 21st century has been nothing but victimization, abuse, and saying that the black woman is just there to be abused by black men, and she needs a savior, either a white liberal or a white man or some sort of non-black man who will pull her out of her situation and pretty much save her from herself never asking the question, what did she do to contribute to this situation? What decisions did she make to be a part of this situation? And these would be questions that black men would be asking the girl next door, because the whole black girl next door concept, as it was created by black men, was not only created to create a positive image of black womanhood, but to create the concept idea that black women were responsible for their own image, and they had to take responsibility for themselves, because inside the theme of the black girl next door was the foundation of a black woman being responsible for maintaining and preserving her own image, and black men going out to support black females who presented a positive image of themselves. It was a picture that was supposed to be a more balanced picture. Unfortunately, most black people decided to walk away from this image and push this narrative of black victimization for the black female, saying that the black woman was a victim of abuses of no good black men, but again, never taking one look for accountability. Because if we look at films and books like your The Color Purple and your Terry McMillan's Waiting to Exhale, we never see any sort of accountability in those kind of stories for the behaviors of these black women, especially your Waiting to Exhale, which again promotes victimization, but never takes a look at the behaviors of these females and says to you, you know, two of these women were side pieces. One of them pretty much was a divorcee and a single mother, and the fourth one had a mental health problem. But this was never explored by Terry McMillan, who pushed a narrative that black women had to deal with a pool of no good black men, but never made the black women responsible for their choices of black men and the black men that they got involved with. So oftentimes when we look at this media, you wonder what happened to the girl next door. And again, when it was heterosexual black males controlling the media, we got those black girls next door. We got more balanced images of black women. We got images of black women in media what we considered friendly, approachable, kind, desirable, approachable, women who most girls would consider to be someone they would want to emulate, someone who they would want to be friends with, someone they would want to have relationships with, friendships with, and someone men would consider friendly and approachable, someone they wanted to talk to, someone they wanted to date, someone they wanted to be their girlfriend, and ultimately somebody they wanted to marry. This is what we got from heterosexual black men when they controlled the narrative of the image of the African American woman. However, when black feminists took control of the image of the black woman and homosexual black men took control of the image of the black woman in media, we get the image of a poor, put upon victim who is abused and told all sorts of treated cruelly by brutal black men. And the only way they can come out of this situation is through being saved by a white or a non-black savior or some sort of light-skinned biracial savior who will pull them out of a situation and never ask them to be any sort of accountable for their actions or to be responsible for their actions. And when we look at this narrative that is being produced today regarding the image of the black woman, it is a very destructive narrative as it relates to our black women and our black girls who imbibe this media, because the media that they're imbibing is not presenting them a balanced picture of black womanhood. The media they are presented to them tells them that there is only one place for them in society, and that is to be a hapless victim. And it teaches them not to love themselves, not to love what is great about being a black woman, not to see a black woman as being attractive, not to see a black woman as being desirable, not to see a black woman as somebody who is friendly. And it pretty much breathes new life into old stereotypes regarding your black female from the 1930s, such as the asexualized mammy, the Jezebel who was promiscuous, or the emasculating sapphire who puts up an emotional wall that no man can virtually get over because nothing will ever make her happy. And these stereotypes, once they get life breathed into them, pretty much choke the life out of most black females who imbibe this media, because they never learn the full richness of what it is to be a black woman. the black experience or learn truly what's great about black culture. We need more black girls next door in media, and that's one of the reasons why I write the stories that I write, because I understand what a black woman's image is and how important it is to protect it and to maintain it, because we need more positive images of black women out there. We need black girls to see that they can be the girl next door, they can be the friend, they can be the woman that everybody wants to be friends with, they can be the woman that and the girl that every guy wants to talk to, and that they are lovable and they can be loved for who they are. You can pick up many of my books which feature your black girl next door, such as Spellbound or the ISIS series or All About Nikki's Fabulous First Season, on Amazon.com by clicking the link in the description box.